I'd like to call to order the City of Saugatuck City Council meeting for January 12th, 2026. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jamie, will you call the roll?
Anderson.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Muncy.
Here.
Peterson. Here. Stanton.
Here. We have a quorum. Couple quick things for the mayor's comments. One, I'm excited about our two guest speakers tonight, so thanks for coming. We'll all learn more about assessing and our audit. It's great news about our audit. Another really strong year and testament really to past and present councils for managing our financial resources very wisely and prudently with, an eye to the day-to-day needs of the city, but also saving for longer term investment. So really glad to see that. And hopefully that will dispel some of the false narratives going around a few months ago that we were in some sort of financial trouble. I also want to, speaking of stewarding resources, just say a few words about a proclamation that we'll be voting on tonight, honoring David Swan for his service with the Coastal Alliance. I'll get more into it there, but this city has a long tradition, this community has a long tradition of stewarding our ecological and environmental resources. And it's part of what makes this such an amazing place to live. It's what attracts our tourists and keeps our economy thriving. But it takes vigilance. It takes people who will really stand up for things that can't speak. And David's been doing a phenomenal job of that with lots of other people over the couple of decades that he's been leading the Coastal Alliance. So it's great to see him in a long line of people who make this a great place to live. And that is it for me. Ryan?
Yeah, well, thank you, Mayor, and Happy New Year to everyone. Just last minute reminder, your strategic planning meeting is Wednesday. So we're gonna kind of formally kick things off around 9 a.m. at the Saugatuck Yacht Club. But we'll start with a little bit of maybe coffee and conversation at about 1:45, and then we'll have planning on a full day session. So that packet went out this afternoon. I know the master plan survey results are pretty lengthy. I included a link in my manager's report, so hopefully I had a chance to get a little bit of a head start on some of that. But your department heads and staff are looking forward to kind of presenting on 2025's accomplishments and talking about where we're at with this current fiscal year's priorities, and then kind of talking with all of you about what you want to see accomplished in fiscal year 26-27. So really looking forward to that session. So and the other thing I just have for you today is just a little bit of a story. I received a text from my wife Lisa this morning with a picture saying, if you see these guys around town today, I really like the guy on the left. And I'm like, who the heck are these guys? I'm like, I see these guys before, and you like the guy on the left, and why am I want my picture with them? So some influencers, Josh and Jace, were in town today at various locations, even on a cold winter day, finding some fun and seeing some different parts of the town. And I even hear that they checked out the Bald Head Stairs, maybe all the way up to the top. So if you're not familiar with them, check them out on Facebook and TikTok and a number of different platforms. They got a number of videos going around that are pretty funny, and it's pretty cool to see the community through their eyes as visitors from overseas. That's all I have, Mayor.
That's great. Any changes to the agenda? All right. That takes us to our first guest speaker for the audit presentation, which we have booklets. It's also on page 3. And I thought I saw our auditor up there.
Yes.
All right. And it's Ken. I have your name right, correct? Thanks for being with us, Ken.
Unmute himself there.
Okay.
Ken, if you could unmute yourself, please.
I see the button. Okay, thank you.
There we go. Yeah.
Thanks
Good
for being with
evening.
us.
Good evening, Your Honorable Mayor Anderson and members of the Saugatuck City Council. I am very pleased to have this opportunity to present and discuss the audit for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2025. The audit, again, this year went smooth. We encountered no problems, difficulties, or differences. We received excellent help and assistance from the city staff, especially Treasurer Nicole. We found that the city bookkeeping is being handled in a very excellent manner. With all the audit work that we did, we had recommended 13 adjusting journal entries. However, several of those were for reclassifications that had no effect on the total revenues or expenditures. It was mostly to move things around to present things in our audit the way that we wanted to do that. I think that the audit this year was a good learning experience for the new treasurer, who appeared focused on making some very positive improvements in the future record keeping and audit process. So based on our audit, we issued the standard unmodified opinion that you will find in the audit report on page 1 and 2. It's labeled Independent Auditor's Report. It's unmodified. It's an unmodified opinion, which is the best that is possible. Okay. So it means that we believe, based on our audit work, that these financial statements do fairly present the financial position of the city for the year ended and as of June 30. I'd like to just briefly run through the report with you. Through the pages. Page 7, I'd like to take a look at that with you. This gives you a nice overview of the activities, revenues, and expenses for the year in a very condensed format. This is part of the management's discussion and analysis there on page 7. And
Page 7 of the report, Jamie.
okay. Next page.
Next page, Jamie.
Okay. So yeah, so what you're seeing here is very condensed. It's for all the funds and activities of the city in a condensed way, so you can really see the big picture. This is prepared on a full accrual method of accounting, which means that we record depreciation on capital assets and that type of thing. If you pay non-debt, that's not an expense. Only the interest is an expense, but that full accrual method gives you a true picture, we think, of what happened for the year. Some of the notable items here was the change in net position. Towards the bottom there, you see change in net position. You have a positive amount, $2,306,694. That's pretty good. The prior year was also a substantial increase in net position of about 1.5 million. So the trend is basically good, yes. The property tax revenue you see up there went from about $3,073,000 to approximately $3,256,000, an increase of about $183,000. That's up about 6%. It was just from the increase in taxable SEVs on the properties. Rates were the same. Charges for services, there you see a huge number at the top. The very first item last year was $1,467,000 compared to $1,029,000. That was from a couple of sources. Oval Beach parking and Oval Beach concessions brought in about $225,000 more in gross income. The Water and Sewer Improvements Fund also had about $200,000 more in charges this year, revenues. Okay, so moving ahead to page 10. Page 10 is the statement of net position. This is a big picture, full accrual basis snapshot as to where the city stood on June 30, 25 in terms of assets and liabilities. Here, I think we see a very healthy position. In total, the city held cash and investments of about 12.9 million. The city has had a fully funded MERS pension plan, so you see no liability for a pension. In fact, see a pension asset there under assets, 201,000. So you get the fund, the MERS is well funded. The long-term debt you see listed there, you have one bond issue that you're paying on, the 2017 street improvement bonds. Those are at approximately 2% interest rate and will be paid off over about the next 4 years. So, you have a very healthy statement in that position there. Moving ahead to page 12. Here you see on page 12 a statement. Well, this is actually a balance sheet statement, balance sheet. This is for the governmental funds, which is the type that you have. You have no business type currently, only governmental. Governmental funds accounting, fund accounting is modified accrual basis is used for that. So what we do here is we're just focusing in on what are your current available resources. It's kind of like almost cash basis, except we do include some receivables and payables. But on that basis of accounting, I think we see a very healthy balance sheet for all of the funds. The general fund balance number there, you see a total of about 744,000. I think that's a very adequate amount compared to the annual expenditures budget of about 4 million for the general fund. So we have a very good fund balance. And then moving ahead to page 15, be the last one here. And here you see the statement of revenues, expenditures, and change in fund balance for the funds. The general fund last year had a revenues of about 4.5 million, and you see expenditures of about 3.3 million. So there you saw an excess of revenues over the expenditures, or change in fund balance is a positive 1,186,000 approximately. So it was a good year in terms of adding to the fund balance. All of the other funds had positive increases in fund balance as well. So in conclusion, I want to thank you again for choosing Berthiaume and Company to help with this, and I welcome your questions or comments.
Questions?
Sure, I'd be happy to start. Thanks, Ken. Quick question. How many years have you been doing our books?
Well, I'm not sure exactly. I think we're probably on the 10th year or so. We usually do it in the engagements in 3-year increments. So we just started the first of this 3 years. Last year we gave you an engagement letter which you approved, and so we're on for the next 2 years. So I think we did 3 rounds. So I think maybe we already did 9, plus this one.
Okay.
Something
All
like
right,
that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Where I was going with that is and I think you've been the key auditor on this, the time that I've been here.
Yes.
Kind of what's your sense about the city, just from a financial standpoint? Good position today. What's kind of been your takeaway from how the city is done from just a financial management standpoint?
Well, the city is in very good shape financially. That was the question. But how it's managed, excellent. I from our experience, we worked with Peter for that time. until he left a year or so ago. And then Nicole now has taken over and it's been very, very good. And she's followed in Peter's footsteps there very well. And so we're very happy with the way it's going.
Okay, good. You probably see a lot of different municipal clients. What are some of the financial challenges you see other communities have that perhaps we're not facing?
Well, okay. You have on your balance sheet, your statement of net position, you have no pension liability, you have no OPEB liability. In a lot of communities, that's a challenge. Some communities, the tax base isn't growing. And we see a lot of challenge. A lot of places have infrastructure issues, you know, trying to improve their water and sewer systems, and that's a challenge. And you don't have the business type here. We know that's another entity that runs that. But yeah, you have just the governmental. I don't see those kinds of challenges here. I mean, you have a good tax base. It looks like you got some good revenues coming in from Oval Beach. That's been really helpful to to get money to improve the parks and that sort of thing. You have no long-term debt other than that street bond, which is going to get paid off. So when that's paid, you will have no debt. A lot of places that we audit, they have a lot of bond issues and that they're paying on all the time.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you bringing up the lack of a pension liability. I know there's a lot of governments that are bedeviled by that, to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. And if you're the state of Illinois or city of Chicago, it's the billions. So we're small potatoes, obviously, but the fact that we do not have a pension liability is important because it's not taxes we have to pay or not taxes, but it's not a liability that we have to pay or we're paying interest on. So that's again, I thank you to the mayor for the testament about the past councils. There's been some criticism in the past about the councils not spending money, and we're in a good position today because of very judicious financial decisions in the past.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we hope to continue on that path going forward. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else? Joe?
I mean, obviously, phenomenal results and a result of the management and our staff. Guys deserve a well done. I just had kind of one observation, and it's going to sound like I'm complaining, and I'm not, because when your revenue's up substantially and your expenses go down and you're on a trend that shows these types of results for the last 4 years, I'm not complaining, but it did pique my curiosity. I looked at our investment holdings, which are up substantially right now over last year, 8, 9 versus 7. I'm sorry, page 10.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the prior years. I brought the financial statement with. The return on our investments is flat year over year, but our current holdings up about 20, you're the accountant, 23%, something like that. Is that because of the way the balances were transferred late in the year, or is the performance of our investments decreased over the prior year?
Well, it may have decreased. I think the money that's invested is with Michigan Class.
Yeah.
They had a couple of good years in there when interest rates were up. I mean, interest rates are coming down, I think, a lot, and you see that locally on CDs and things that you can invest in. So, but Michigan Class they had a really good time there a couple of years, and they made some good returns. So it's, as you know, it's a very conservative investment.
Of course.
And you get interest basically, and that will probably go down here as interest rates are coming down on those types of investments. They invest in government bonds, very conservative stuff.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, certainly I understand that the bond rates are coming down. I was just They then didn't come down that much, but I understand if it's probably a combination of both, that the investments are slowing down a little bit, payoffs and the calendarization of how the money was transferred into the accounts, I'm guessing, but
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah, I'm not, I don't know what your numbers you're looking at, but, on page 11, it does show the investment income kind of in one number there. Let's do. Investment.
Yeah, I was looking at the investment earnings on page 7 compared to the year over year, which isn't captured on page 10, but if you look at the prior year statement, you can see the differential between the investment balances, the funds that are actually generating returns.
Okay, yeah, there's more money in there this year. I don't know when it was transferred in there. So yeah, it might have been only the increase in amount might have been just part of the year. I don't know offhand on that, but yeah, but page 11 does show it, and it shows that one number, investment earnings, and this year was only up about $2,000.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, no complaints, just.
But it's still a substantial number. You made 526,000 for the year. That was pretty good.
Yeah. I'm sure when budget time comes, you'll factor in the lower returns on our investment holdings. So we just plan around it.
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Chris, did
Thank
you
you.
have a question?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could you tell me, we've got a very generous donation for a park. And where on the revenues on page 15, where do donations like that fall?
Okay. Donations fall in other revenues on page 15. There's a number there in general fund, 190,270. You see on, let's see, where do we look? Okay, you got it.
Is that your page 15?
Sorry,
Is that your page 15?
I was looking at the prior year. I'm sorry. Page 15, it's 62,729 right there. I see it.
A little larger than that, isn't it?
So yeah, it's in there.
So what park donation are you referring to,
From
Councilmember Peters?
the Wildwoods.
So Saugatuck Wilds actually hit on the prior fiscal year. So that was an end of year. So this is 24, 23, 24. It would have hit, I think we received it in like June of 24, which would have been the prior fiscal year.
Yeah, that's the number I gave
How
you.
long ago?
Yeah, yep.
Time flies.
Yeah, so we received the dollars and then, obviously put them to work and then opened, early this past year.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's right. It was 190,000 prior year, 62,000 this year, and other revenue. That includes any donations, that type of thing you get that's in there.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a follow-up question on page 13.
His or ours?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
just a moment. Yeah, just a moment. That would be page 13, I think. Just a moment to get to it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Shoot. Sorry about this. I was just doing the numbers too. Just a moment. I'll find it. Sorry. It was the general expenses for the year over year from 24 to 25 went down by 269,672. Was there, what I'm looking for is some explanation on, the days of, we keep hearing about expenses going up for everything from salaries to supplies to various things. And maybe it's more of a question for our treasurer, as to what would have represented a reduction in our expenses from year over year, to, more than $250,000. So just more curious.
Okay. So if I'm following correctly, you're looking at probably page 15. and you're looking at general government expenditures.
Of course, can't find it.
Yeah, on 15. Next, yeah, coming down.
Your page 15?
Yeah, so you got your general government current expense at 902,239.
Yep.
I got the prior year report here and it's showing 1,205,000 in that category. That's about 300,000. I don't know offhand, what that is, but if it were me, I would probably go to the back of the report and find some more detail. Now in the back, you find on page 43, you will see the little breakdown of that expense. Okay, I see it right. I see what it is off the top. On the prior year report, he had an expense in there for an attorney, 382,000. This year, the attorney, there's nothing nothing's showing like that big.
That would have been the year of heavy litigation for our lawsuit against Paul Hewley or Dune Ridge.
That's right.
Yeah, and actually it was on page 7, our page 13 that I was looking at the numbers.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So you see your breakdown there, but if you had last year's report, you would see a line there under general government for the legal attorney. And it was 382,000 in there last time. So that's why that went down.
Okay,
Yeah.
appreciate that, Ken. Thank you.
Yep.
Again, no complaints. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
so thank you.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Ken. We really
Okay.
appreciate it, and thank you, Nikki. Great job. Okay, with that, we will move to the assessor to talk us through. Tony, thank you for coming, and I know that Dawn, it looks like Dawn is on Zoom.
Dan, yeah, I believe is on Zoom. So yeah, you guys had asked to, have this presentation done. So I wanted to really get an idea of what you guys were actually looking for. So we came a few weeks ago and got that information. So I kind of built this around what you guys were asking. So, we'll go through that and we'll start with always the big question is, well, how do you come up with my value? Because people think we're just back here doing some voodoo math and just pull some numbers out of a hat, and that's not what we do. So there's actually a little bit of method to our madness here. So, first things first, when we value property in Michigan, yes.
It's not showing what you're showing for my.
Yeah, you probably have to share your screen.
Well. I am sharing my screen.
Oh.
There it is. It caught up.
It's just slow.
Life is good?
It's using a remote and I'm not used to it. So it's just,
Oh,
go
okay,
ahead,
yeah.
it's fine. I just want to make sure they can see it online.
Yeah, so in Michigan, there's 3 ways to value property, right? In the assessing world, and there's sales method, cost method, and income approach. And the problem is we have to try to value every single piece of property in the city every single year, right? So to do a sales comparison approach like an appraiser does, like if you get an appraisal for your mortgage or something like that, what do? They go out and they search for comparable properties and, they come up with this whole appraisal report. And how long does that generally take them, right? It takes them about 2 weeks. So now if we had to multiply that by 1,400, we obviously wouldn't have time to do that. We have to do mass appraisal. So we typically use the cost approach to value to do that. And the state of Michigan, they publish what's called an assessor's manual, and it lays out all of these values. And oh, now my clicker's not working. So can you go to the next slide? So this is just a little extract out of the cost manual. And what they do is they lay houses out by class A, B, C, D, you know, and C is kind of your average home. So that's what I grabbed here. And they say, you look, if you're building a 1,500 square foot home on average in the entire state of Michigan, on average, it's going to cost $183.19 per square foot to build that home, right? Now, I'm getting quotes to do some work on my house, and I can tell you that's not even close. It's like closer to $350 to $500 a square foot, but nonetheless, these are the numbers that the state gives us, right? So, so just a really super quick example, if somebody built a 1,500 square foot home with one bathroom, according to the assessor's manual, it would cost up to $274,785, right? And that's just doing the simple math. But the problem is that's cost, right? Cost and value. I have this conversation with taxpayers quite often. Cost and value are two different things, right? It may cost you $270 some odd thousand to build that house, but that doesn't mean that's what the value of that home is, right? If cost and value were always the same thing, builders wouldn't build because there would be no profit in it for them, right? I mean, there has to be a way for the builder to make money, and that's where value comes in. So, you know, most of the time, value exceeds cost, especially in the market that we're in right now. You know, there was one example that I can tell you. I appraised the DeVos cottage on Lake Makatawa, you know, when they were building that, and they, you know, millions upon millions of dollars into building this. In that case, they were building something special. Their cost exceeded their value, but, you know, here we just don't see that. So, you know, that's the issue, is that we're dealing with a statewide average cost manual. So how do we relate that to our local market here in Saugatuck, Michigan, right? And this is where the voodoo math comes in, everybody thinks, right? What we do is we calculate what's called an economic condition factor. And this is actually a copy of our existing, this is REC, one of our ECF neighborhoods for this year. We just calculated this. Don just got done calculating all these. And this one is for East Hill neighborhood. And what we do is we actually list out all of the sales that take place in that neighborhood, okay? And we say, well, it sold for X dollars, like the first sale there is $1.5 million. And then from there, we extract out the land value and we say, well, once we remove the land value, it leaves this much value for the building, right? And we compare that to the cost manual. So if you look at the third column from the left, right here, that's your building residual. So that's sale price minus land and land improvements, and that equals the value to the building. Well, then the next column is the cost manual. So that's how much that assessor's manual said that house would cost to build. So from there, we can do the math, right? So, you know, 1.2 million divided by 321,000 is 3.8 times. So then what we do is we do that for all of the sales and we come up with the weighted average. So that neighborhood, the ECF at the bottom that's highlighted is 2.934. So we will take the cost of each one of those individual homes and we multiply it by 2.934. So essentially what in this market, right, the cost is factored by 290%. Right? And that's how we get to the value. And I will tell you, the value in Saugatuck is big, right? This is a very high ECF. And it's actually kind of funny because when I talk to other assessors, I do a lot of instructing throughout the state. And I'm like, oh yeah, we have 3 ECFs all the time in Saugatuck, right? And they're like, what? No, like our ECF is 0.75. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's because that's your market. This is that market, right? So that's how we relate that manual to the market. Then the other piece of the puzzle, obviously, we have to figure out land value, right? Because we subtracted that from the sale price, and you're like, well, how do you come up with land value? So here's the problem. How much vacant land do you think we have in the city that sells?
That's private, that's private.
That's private? Yeah, well, just vacant land, right? Yeah, that's private sale. Hardly any, right? I mean, we're probably lucky to get 5 to 10 vacant land sales a year. I would say we're very lucky to get that. So now what we have to do is actually almost the opposite, right? We have to take a sale price and we have to subtract out the building value. And then that leaves us with a land residual. And this is where some of you smarter folks are going to say, well, Tony, that's a circular reference. And I'm going to say, well, yeah, it is. But get me more vacant land sales and, you know, we can do this with just vacant land sales. So what we do is we take last year's building value, we remove it out from the sale price. That leaves us a land residual that we can calculate our land with. And, you know, we value land a few different ways. A lot of the city is done with by the front foot, you know, so if you own 66 front feet, we multiply it by the $3,097 that we calculated and you get a land value, right? But now that we have those two pieces of the puzzle, we can take our land value, we can take our building value, we add them together, and we get your total value. So this house, which is going to be used in the next example, they had a concluded land value of $204,000, land improvements of $4,200, and the building value of $838,000, which gave them a total valuation of basically $1.05 million. And that's how we do our voodoo math. It's fun, yes.
So that represents the state equalized value.
No,
That's the other
that's
term?
true
No?
cash value.
That's true cash value.
So state
Okay.
equalized value is going to be half of that,
Okay.
right? Because we assess at 50% of true cash value.
And none of this, well, this is somewhat based on sales because that's kind of what you're taking as the initial analysis.
Absolutely
Yep.
based on sales, yep.
Yep. So,
Yep.
you can't, you can't say for that property at St. Joseph that the land, if it had no home on it, would be valued at $250,000, for instance, that,
Oh, no,
Could
we
very-
absolutely would.
but it could very well be a different value from a sales standpoint because it could sell for more than that, right?
Oh, it could
Yeah.
sell for more, could sell for less, right? That's the thing with assessing is we're working on the law of averages. So, you know, we make adjustments for every home, right? So, you know, your home may have 2 bathrooms, your home may have 3, right? Well, we're going to price that extra bathroom in your home. We're going to price 2 bathrooms in your home, right? The manual comes with, you only get one. According to the manual, you only get one. If you want to build more, we have to account for that. But yeah, so we try to account for those differences. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is absolutely law of averages. And, you know, that's what we do. So, so any questions on the valuation piece before I get into this next one?
Just, so how do you divide the community up? You said this was an East Hill district? Is that what you
Yeah,
called it?
we've got, I forget how many residential neighborhoods. I want to say 5 or 6, but we've got, you know, East Residential, East Hill Residential, then we've got, you know, Park, and over there we've got the Dunes, and we try to split them up by economic areas, right? And, you know, this East Hill, which is right off of downtown, you know, they benefit a little bit because of downtown. People want to be close to downtown, right? The further out you get, we find that things start to maybe go down a little bit. It's been disappearing. There used to be a bigger difference between some of our ECF neighborhoods, and that's kind of been closing up because people just want to be in Saugatuck, and they're getting to the point to where they're like, I don't care where I'm at, just get me in Saugatuck, you know? And so, but yeah, I would have to get a map. We actually can create a ECF map on the fly if you actually really want to see the true neighborhood boundaries. We could show you that.
Yeah, just more of a curious, there's just more of a question. So it's not tied to our zoning
No,
districts?
no, not necessarily.
Okay. Thank you.
So, you know, this, a really nice spelling error in there. My neighbor's house is just like 9. Why are my taxes so much higher? We hear this all the time. Has anybody ever came to the board of review in March? You guys should do that. You guys should come to the board of review and just spend a few hours there. This is the number one argument we get. You know, my taxes are so much higher than my neighbors. This is unfair, right? This is what we voted for. Who was here in 1994? Who voted for Proposal A, right? So this is the side effect of Proposal A, and I'll get into this, okay? But, you know, the first thing that us as assessors always start with is the true cash value or the market value of the home. That's what we do. And then from there, we cut that in half, and then that's the SEV, right? But then, you know, so there's my SEV, $150,000. By state law, the assessed value always has to be 50% of market value. Easy peasy. But 1994 came Proposal A, and it introduced this entirely new value, right? And nobody ever had this before, and it's this thing called taxable value. And voters passed this in Proposal A to protect homeowners from rapidly rising property values, because what was happening is coming out of the 80s, the values were increasing so much. And at that time, we were actually taxed on our SEV, right? So if our SEV increased 15% in 1 year, so did our tax bill, right? And it got really, really painful for some people. So what Proposal A said is, hey, we'll create this thing called taxable value, and we will cap your property taxes to only increase by the consumer price index or 5%, whichever is less. But we're going to keep the SEV. That's going to follow the market value. So now what can happen is your SEV can go up 20%, but your taxable value, like this year, the consumer price index is 2.7, okay? So the taxable value, boom, will only go up 2.7%. So what happens is over time, you get more and more of a spread, just like you see, that your assessed value gets higher and higher and higher, and the taxable value just kind of slowly goes up. And then at the same time, what it did is it added 2% to our sales tax. Remember that, right? So, and that 2% was supposed to go to school funding. So that's how they helped offset some of the tax losses that they were going to realize. So now, so your taxable value is the lower of two numbers, and it's either going to be your SEV, state equalized value, or your capped value, which is last year's taxable value minus any losses. Like if you demoed something, that value would come off, and then you multiply that result by the CPI, consumer price index, or 5%, whichever is less, and then you add any additions. So if you built a garage or an addition onto your home, that's the cap value formula. And your taxable value at this point is just simply a determination. It's the lower of those two. But in taxation, I always say it's always except when, right? So except when a transfer of ownership occurs. So we'll get into that. But this is kind of how we get to your tax bill, right? Like I said, we always start with market value. We multiply it by 50%. That's your assessed value. Then we have to make that choice of SEV or capped. And once we make that choice, that's your taxable value. And then you multiply your taxable value times the millage rate, and boom, that's your tax bill. It's that easy. Right? So we'll get into the story of two neighbors. This is real numbers from our database. I did not make these up whatsoever. These are the houses. You may know them. Tim, he's owned that property since before Proposal A came into effect. And John, he just bought that property in 2024. Okay. Those houses are very similar to each other in square footage and value. All right. But here's Tim's story. So this is the power of Proposal A or the cap, right? So the blue line is the SEV, and then the red line is the taxable value. You can see that our SEV, you can plot this line on any house in Saugatuck, and you're going to see a very similar spike like this. The last few years since COVID, our values have just gone absolutely nuts, and it is so hard to keep up with them. But that's what it is, right? So you see his assessed value grow, 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 grow. Back in 2000, his assessed value was $67,985. And now today, his assessed value is $474,000. And his taxable value, however, started out at $45,729 and is now $93,006, right? But that taxable value has only seen the consumer price index increase every year. The SEV just followed the market. So Tim's really benefiting from Proposal A. Now, John's got a little bit of a different story, right? John started out with a taxable value of $35,000, but now his taxable value is $523,700. Oh my goodness. What in the world, right? So there's a few things that happened. We had two uncapping events. So the other thing that Proposal A said is, look, we're going to save these taxpayers a lot of money, but when a property goes through a transfer of ownership, that property is going to get what's called uncapped, and the taxable value is going to jump up to the SEV the year following the sale. Okay. And this was a way for cities and municipalities to hopefully eventually catch up to where they would have been, right? And this is what got John where he's at. So before the sale, you can see in 24, there was a big gap between assessed and taxable value. But now in 25, remember John bought the house in 24, it uncaps the year following the sale. Those two numbers become the same. So his taxable became the same as his SEV. Remember, these houses are right next to each other. They're right around the corner from each other, but they have property that touch, right? So here's the story. Tim, he's owned that property for a long time. His market value is $948,000. And his tax bill is $3,826.91. That's what was his actual tax bill last year, or for 2025. John, the new owner, valued at $1,047,000, right? We're within $100,000 of each other. His tax bill is $21,549.30. So when somebody asks you, why am I paying so much more than my neighbor, right? It's not necessarily because the assessor is crazy. This is Proposal A. This is what Proposal A did. And it's not that Proposal A is punishing John. It's not punishing John at all, right? Because if Proposal A never came into existence, that's what John would be paying anyways, isn't it? Because he would get taxed on his SEV. What Proposal A is doing is actually helping Tim, right? It's very much benefiting Tim because Tim, instead of paying taxes on a value of $474,000, he's paying taxes on a value of $93,006, right? So it's not that Proposal A punishes the new owners, it's that it helps long-term owners, right? Let's keep you here. Here's a better idea. Just don't sell your home. Stay in Saugatuck with us and enjoy life, right? So that's how that happens. And it's really unfortunate. And because we get this all the time when people come into the March Board of Review and they're like, hey, I'm paying 20 grand and my neighbor's paying 6. What gives? That's what gives.
And if you give your home to your child and they inherit it, does that change?
So in 2013, there was a blood affinity law that was passed that allows you to give your home to your children without it uncapping. So if Tim here has a child and he gives that home or even sells that home to his child, that property, they can not uncap. Right. So the children would still pay the same. Well, I mean, it'll increase by the consumer price index, right? But yeah, they would get to retain that cap. So that is good. That, that law was passed in 2013 and it's gone through reiterations a lot because it started out pretty much with your children. And then since then they've added grandchildren and stepchildren and adopted children. I mean, they've expanded this blood affinity law by quite a bit. So, yes.
Can I ask one quick? So if Tim decides to rent his house, whether long-term rental or short-term rental, does that have any impact on his being considered a long-term owner?
So as far as the long-term owner thing, no, right? But actually, both of these houses are lived in, right? So their principal residence exemption. They have both filed for principal residence exemptions, stating that this is the home that they live in. So they do get an 18 mil exemption from the school operating, right? Now, if somebody rents their house out all the time, then yes, that could affect that exemption. And it could raise those tax bills, but it would not change the values. It would raise the tax bill based on the millage rate that they're paying.
Okay.
Okay. But this rental thing is getting harder because it used to be very cut and clear. If you rented your home out for more than 14 days, it was considered a commercial purpose and you would lose your PRE. But the Michigan Tax Tribunal has ruled, no, you cannot use this 14-day rule for PRE guidelines because the law states in there it's where you ultimately intend to return. So they said, even if they rent it out for 3 months, if they ultimately intend to return there, that is their principal residence exemption and you cannot remove it from them. So, keep that in mind. Yeah.
Russ?
Yeah, so again, I know Tim and John,
Yeah.
so it's probably most of us do. This is all public information. so
This is all
Yeah,
public
this is
information.
just selected just for examples, right? I just want to make
Yep.
sure.
These were great examples. I mean, I don't know if I could find more disparity right next to each other.
Yeah, they're
right?
literally backyards
Yeah.
up against each other. And this also applies to commercial properties as well, correct?
I'm
It's the same
commercial?
commercial property.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same exact rules apply to commercial as far as the uncapping and the cap and all that stuff. Yeah.
I find this super helpful.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it easier for folks, but it does make it explainable.
Yeah.
And I did vote for Proposition A back in 1994 because of people like my aunt and uncle who live across the street from me who've been in the house for now 50 years. I don't know what their taxes are, but it's at capped level. And that has allowed people who would have needed to move, been able to stay in their homes. And that's the reason I voted for it.
Proposal A has done exactly what it set out to do. The challenge that people are having with Proposal A, actually, I was just in a meeting today with the state. And there's a lot of talk about property tax reform right now going on. And the problem with Proposal A is maybe Tim wants to downsize, right? Tim's got a, I don't know, 2,500 square foot home and, wants to downsize to something smaller, 1,000 square feet, easier to maintain, blah, 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 blah. The problem is Tim can sell this house. That's not a problem for him. But when he goes and buys that 1,000 square foot house, chances are, especially if he buys in Saugatuck, he's not getting a taxable value of 93,000 anymore.
Right.
So he's going to be living in a smaller house and have a tax bill potentially 3 times higher than what he's paying for this big, beautiful house, right? That's where Proposal A becomes challenging for people yeah. So. So, how do you explain this to residents? Again, it's the difference between assessed and taxable value. Those taxes are calculated on taxable value, not assessed, right? So if you're trying to see if you're fairly assessed, you need to look at assessed value, right? Taxable value, as far as fairness goes, I promise you means nothing. It's not about being fair with taxable value. It's about how long have you owned your home. Proposal A, we talked about that, right? And then when that home is sold, it gets uncapped. That cap is removed and it jumps up to whatever the SEV is going to be the year following the sale. And, the system, Proposal A, creates differences between neighbors over time, but it was designed to provide the stability and predictability for long-term homeowners, right? So, hey, yeah, you know what, John, that really sucks that you got uncapped. I get it, right? But here's the good thing about it. From now on, you're only going up by the consumer price index or 5%, whichever is less. Like, you can count on this. As long as you don't add a bunch of square footage to your home and all that. That's it. That's all you're changing. Yeah.
That was just the question I was going to ask. So if you do an improvement to the home, essentially whatever percentage increase is going to hit your taxable value that year. So it's almost
So-
to be considered a partial uncapping event, correct?
Well, it's called an addition. It's called new and additions. I'll use myself as an example. I met with a builder this morning. I want to build a 1,200 square foot addition onto my home. Okay. And, if I were to do nothing, my taxable value will go up by consumer price index. But as soon as I build this 1,200 square foot addition, let's say that 1,200 square foot addition adds $300,000 of value to my property. Well, value divided by 2, right, to get to SEV. So 300 divided by 2 is $150,000. My taxable and assessed
Both
are
the same.
both going to go up 150,000. So it's not on a percentage thing, right? It's on the value add of what you're adding to your home.
So back to your example, somebody, was it Tim? Could do an addition and end up seeing his tax bill jump 3x.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he absolutely could. Yep. Which will probably happen to me. So actually I have that here. What happens when I remodel? How about that? So, first of all, I want to draw a difference between remodeling and additions. And the reason I want to do that is because there's actually some exemptions in place for remodeling, right? So what is remodeling / normal maintenance and repair? So this is like your kitchen's old and you need to update it. That's a remodel, right? You didn't change the square footage of the home. You need a new roof because yours is 30 years old and it's leaking. That's a remodel. That's normal maintenance, right? New siding, it's normal maintenance. New HVAC, normal maintenance. Updated plumbing, maintenance. Update electrical system, that's maintenance, right? So normal maintenance and repairs expenditures are exempted for the current owner until the property gets uncapped, right? So if you were to go in and put a new siding on your house, that may add $20,000, $30,000 worth of value to that home, but we're not going to add that to the taxable value, okay? Because you get, it's called a Matthew Gast exemption. That's the guy's name who came up with it. And so anyways, we're not going to add that to your taxable value though, right? But when that property sells, what happens? It gets uncapped, right? And the value of that, those maintenance and repair items would get added to the taxable value at that point. So the current owner gets the benefit of that. Now, I want to be very clear on this. If I come into Saugatuck today and buy a home, and then I completely remodel it, right? Because I want to make it mine. Even though I don't add any square footage, I buy it today and then tomorrow I start remodeling. That is not considered normal repair and maintenance. Law has been very clear on this. The tax tribunal says any expenditures made the year following the sale is not considered under Matthew Gast, right? And if you kind of think about it, that makes sense, right? Because when they purchased that home, they knew they were going to do work to it, right? And they made those expenditures making that home what they wanted. So we're remember again with this whole taxable value thing, we're setting the base. So they've been pretty clear on that. So if I know there are people out there that think, well, I can buy a home, it's a piece of crap, and then my taxes will stay low. Not if I'm your assessor, because that's not what the law says. Okay. So my example, I remodel my kitchen. It adds $25,000 worth of value. My existing assessed value is $450,000. My existing taxable value is $326,000, $458,000. So the new assessed value is, $500,000, but the new taxable value is $376,000. And that's not right because that should have said $50,000 worth of value, but
Yeah.
just, play along with me. And then now we can talk about those additions, right? If I want to build a sunroom or I want to add a bedroom or whatever, I want to add 300 square feet to my house, or I want a new bathroom, like maybe in your existing space, but it's a new bathroom, right? You only had one bathroom to begin with and you changed a closet to a bathroom. Well, that wasn't there before. So that is an addition. New deck, new garage. The assessed value of the addition is going to get added to the assessed and taxable because there is no exemptions for that. So, okay, any questions on that? Remodeling, additions?
Yeah, don't do it.
Remodel all you want, right? You remodel all you want. Just don't build your additions, right? Keep your footprint the same. Yeah, yep. So, all right, so how do I protest my valuation? Every year, we're actually getting close to this date. In February, we send out assessment change notices. And we have what's called a March Board of Review. On that assessment change notice, it will actually give you instructions on how to set up an appointment with your March Board of Review. It'll give you Don's phone number or Jamie's or whoever. And we'll set you up with an appointment to come to the March Board of Review to state your case. And the Board of Review is made up of 3 of our citizens, right? So they're not like necessarily valuation experts. They're not assessors. They're not mean state people, right? They're our peers. They're 3 of our peers from the city. And they listen to your appeal. You can tell them whatever you want, right? Most commonly, we hear my taxes are too high. Well, what does that have to do with your value? How do you feel about your value? Well, oh no, I paid more than what you have it valued for, but my taxes are too high. We can't do anything about that, right? What we're here to do is we're here to talk about your value. And so that's a really common thing that happens. So if you have people that think that their value are too high, that's great. Just make sure that when they come to the Board of Review that they're prepared. And I'll go over a little bit of that. This is an example of our change notice. This is the message that will be on this year's change notice, as long as our dates and times doesn't change. But I just wanted to highlight where it was on the change notice for you. These will be, we will be sending these off to KCI on the 11th. They will be hitting the mail 10 days later. So somewhere around the 21st, these will be hitting the mail, 21st of February, okay? And again, have them look there. They can call and make an appointment. So what's the difference? Nice, isn't it? What's the difference between a successful appeal and an unsuccessful appeal? So successful appeals, you're going to need to provide supporting evidence of your value opinion, right? So if me, the mean old assessor, said your house was worth $1 million and you think it's only worth $800,000, bring in supporting evidence that helps your case, right? Because I promise you, the Board of Review, if you come in and your case is that my taxes are too high, you haven't proven anything as far as valuation goes. So they really have no choice but to deny your appeal, right? We don't change people's value based on their tax bill, right? We change people's value based on their value, right? So appraisals are most helpful. And a lot of times, I mean, if you're buying a home, usually if you're getting financing, you have an appraisal on hand. Maybe show some other properties around you that have sold if they're similar to your house. Maybe show that, hey, you know, my neighbor three doors down, they just bought their home and, you know, their home it was 700,000 and you're saying mine is $1 million and we have really similar properties. You know, that's going to make the Board of Review say, well, gee, assessor, what's going on? Why is that? You know? And then pictures are really helpful. Pictures are really helpful. You know, hey, yep, you're right. That house did sell for $1 million over there, but let me show you pictures of that. Now let me show you pictures of mine, right? Let me show you pictures of all my deferred maintenance that you weren't aware of because you didn't come inside my home, right? So that can be really helpful too. Unsuccessful appeals, my value is too high. You need to lower it. Period. Right? My taxes are too high. My neighbor pays a lot less taxes than I do. Again, common theme there. There's no evidence saying, hey, why, why? So, and that's it. That's the last one.
That's it.
It's having so much fun.
No, thank you for explaining that. You did a great job. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
we'll put this up on the website so we can point folks to it, will be great. Before we lose you,
Yes.
we have a public comment period and then we get to our consent agenda. And one of the things on our consent agenda is the poverty exemption for 2026. Can you just give us like 2 sentences on what that is and why it's important?
Yeah, so Michigan has an opportunity for people that are under the federal poverty guidelines to be exempted from taxes. And we do actually offer partial exemptions, as you can see in the guidelines. So if their income levels are lower than what you see in your packet there, they can actually be exempted from paying property taxes. But we have to update that every year. You guys see this every single year. We have to update it every year because the number changes, right? And we go by the federal. One thing I will tell you is if you guys want to change those numbers, you can, right? You can make it easier for somebody to qualify. You just can't make it harder. So, if the number is 15,000 is the minimum, you can't go below that. But, you could go above it if you wanted to make it easier for somebody to qualify. But that's what it is. We have to do it every year because those numbers change, and that's why you guys see it every year.
Great, thank you.
One last question on that. Have we had any residents that have asked for this?
No.
We asked this question last year and the answer was no too.
Yeah, no, we just don't have any in the city. Now, I can tell you, we assess a lot of different municipalities and I mean, they're used in others. I do Bedford over on the other side of the state and we have about 10 every year that come in and get those poverty exemptions and they're good for people. I mean, if they're there for a reason, right? And hopefully they're there to help them out and we have a decent number in Allegan, but.
So would you attribute that to the fact that we have a higher socioeconomic levels in the city or?
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe just a lack of knowledge too? Because there's people that live in the city of Saugatuck that are not.
It's pretty hard to qualify. I mean, you have to have, like for a single person, what is it, 15,000, I believe it is, right around there. You have to make less than $15,000 a year and you have to have less than $15,000 in assets, not counting your house or car. Last year, we added the fact that you can have a car, without being counted in your assets.
Right.
But if you have 2 cars, that second car counts, right? And if you have, $500,000 in a 401k, that's an asset. So a lot of people in the city here, they're just not going to qualify based on that.
Great, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And we have a few taxpayers here this evening that probably benefit,
And they're
including us,
educated and what's our neighbor.
Right,
including us.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. We are now at the public comment, the first public comment period, and this can be for anything that's on the agenda. Anyone who wishes to speak can speak for up to 3 minutes. Those in the room, come to the podium if you'd like to say something. All right, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to make a public comment? And we'll be able to see you shortly.
Yeah, I can't figure out why I can't get my screens back up on this. Yeah, there is somebody there. Go ahead and call them. The people online can see what we're doing.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time getting it up here for you guys.
Okay.
But online can see everything that's going on.
Okay, so it-
Continue on while I try to get this.
Okay, so should I ask if somebody has a question to unmute? Okay, RS, if you want to unmute and ask or make your public comment, just introduce yourself and you have 3 minutes.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I was calling because two issues. One
Can
was,
we get your, before you get going, get your name, please?
sure, Julie Soa.
Thanks. Julie.
Regarding the example you use, that's my next door neighbor. Okay. And I take issue with the fact that the next door neighbor's mother owns the property, not the son. So as a result, the taxes are going to be lower. When the mother passes away, they're good friends of mine, their taxes are going to be uncapped and they're going to pay an extraordinarily high amount of taxes, much higher than what she's paying now. My example is right next door. My property's been in my family since 1927. Okay.
So Julie, the
Yes.
assessor has left. It might be,
Okay.
if you want to reach out to them and have this conversation, because I don't know that we can do a whole lot for this.
Okay. Well, I'm just pointing out that those records aren't correct. It's not owned by the person that you stated. It's owned by the mother, which changes the whole picture in terms of the tax and how they're taxed. And I've owned a property here for almost 100 years. And when my mother passed away, I couldn't save the cottage. I had to rebuild, and my taxes are now triple, so there are problems with those scenarios if you're not comparing apples to apples.
All right. The assessors, you can find on the website, the assessor's email address or phone number, and feel free to reach out and have that conversation with them.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Anything else you wish to say?
Yes, I wanted to note that I have submitted a letter regarding the proposal for the multi-purpose tennis court that you're trying to look at getting. You have money available that you want to make improvements downtown. And I wanted you to make sure that you read my letter because I'm a lifelong tennis teacher, tennis player, and I've proposed converting those courts to pickleball. I feel that a multi-purpose court doesn't serve the purpose of either sport. The court height, the court dimensions, it changes the whole game. So if you made those into pickleball courts and you went on the hill and you updated those tennis courts where you resurfaced them, they're well overdue for that, along with the nets are really torn, the surfaces are cracked. I think you would really benefit, the whole community would benefit from having two sports and both dedicated to each individual sport.
Thank you, Julie.
Appreciate it,
Okay.
Julie.
Anyone else online wish to speak? I don't see anyone. Do you? All right, that closes the public comment period, which takes us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to pass our consent agenda on our city council meeting agenda dated January 12th, 2026.
Second.
This is, any discussion or questions before we vote? All right, it's a roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Stan.
Yes.
Motion carries. So we have a proclamation. Thank you to those who came here for that. We are going to recognize David Swan. And this is the awkward part where we stand at the podium and I read it to you, so it's more organized on skill. Let's look each other in the eye meaningfully. David. Whereas the city of Saugatuck proudly recognizes individuals whose leadership, integrity, and dedication have made a significant and lasting impact on our community. And whereas for more than 25 years, David Swan has dedicated himself to the protection of the dunes, beaches, forests, wetlands, and cultural landscapes at the Kalamazoo River mouth, continuing and strengthening a 140-year legacy of conservation in Saugatuck. And whereas David and his wife Allison Swan, who is with us on Zoom, co-founded Concerned Citizens for Saugatuck Dunes State Park in 2001, an organization that successfully fought to protect the integrity of the Saugatuck Dunes State Park and later merged into the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance, which David helped found in 2007 to advance locally determined zoning, responsible land use, and science-based stewardship. And whereas under David's leadership, the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance emerged as a formidable protector of the region's globally significant freshwater dune system, contributing to the safeguarding of more than 300 acres of sensitive habitat, including the 171-acre Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area. And whereas David's strategic vision and collaborative spirit brought together environmental organizations, regulators, lawmakers, and 3 Potawatomi bands, the Matsubishi Nashawish Band, the Nottawasapi Huron Band, and the Pokagon Band, to secure lasting protections for the Kalamazoo River mouth. And whereas his efforts played a central role in preventing the construction of a water treatment facility in the Saugatuck Dunes State Park, securing the designation of the Saugatuck Harbor Natural Area, and petitioning regulatory authorities to deny permits for a proposed marina at the Kalamazoo River mouth. And whereas the Coastal Alliance, under David's guidance, achieved a landmark Michigan Supreme Court ruling that broadened citizens' ability to challenge local zoning decisions, strengthening public participation and ensuring transparency and accountability of land use governance. And whereas through his passion, depth of knowledge, and tireless advocacy, David has become a respected environmental leader throughout Michigan, inspiring countless residents to engage in stewardship and conservation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the city of Saugatuck hereby honors David Swan for his extraordinary service, vision, and dedication to conserving the Saugatuck Dunes and the Kalamazoo River mouth for the benefit of future generations. Be it further proclaimed that the city of Saugatuck extends its deepest gratitude to David and wishes him the very best in his future endeavors. Thank you. Well, the one with council, then anybody else who wants to get in the picture.
It's a tall guy.
Oh, yes.
One, two, three.
And then Bobby, I know you want to come, and Elaine, and anyone else who wants to have their picture taken for this glorious moment, Christian. So we do have some Saugatuck Dunes coastal lines. Yeah. It's kind of exciting.
You wanting us in the background, Mayor, or you just?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I'll have my presentation.
Is everyone council? And then everyone, is Ben out?
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. And Chris, I can't see you in the back. Can you move? Yep, there you go. Okay, I can see everybody. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yep.
It's so bulky.
Okay.
All right. Okay, it gets us to staff report. Oh, yes.
Did we do, B and D, Mayor?
Did we do, I'm sorry.
Not B and D, did we do B and C? I mean, we discussed the poverty exemption, but did we need to,
Did the whole consent agenda.
We did the whole
Oh, sorry.
consent agenda,
my
yeah.
bad, excuse me, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Yep.
Thanks for
Bye,
coming,
all.
everybody.
Thank you.
Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you. Okay, Staff reports, we've heard from Red Ryan's report. Any questions for Ryan?
Yeah, just two questions. One is, how many responses did we get to our rebranding RFP?
Like 26.
26.
Wow.
I'm halfway through them.
That lot.
Wow.
The other, I'm sorry, Lauren. The other more just a comment, the financial picture is great. But I'm also thinking ahead in terms of what the city has in front of it financially. So just, we don't need an answer. I'm not looking for an answer this evening, but it's really incumbent on us to make sure we get our asset management plan done and the capital improvement plan as part of that done in front of us. Because I think that picture will make our financial picture look a little bit less rosy than it is, because we've been lucky, we've been blessed, the community's been really lucky. And as the auditor said, a lot of communities are facing the same things we're facing with infrastructure costs. And, you know, Joe and I have had some opportunities with the city manager, kind of get a picture of what that looks like with engineers, tens of millions of dollars of repairs. So I'd like to begin to see that sooner rather than later, so we can begin to plan for that, because it's going to be very judicious on future councils in terms of what that spending is going to look like. And so I just want to put that out there.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Yes.
And I had to leave early at our workshop, but I did watch the workshop on YouTube, watched the whole meeting and got the information. Was pleased to see where the council stood on making adjustments for our short-term rentals. When will we be seeing those adjustments brought forward?
I don't know if it'll be
I
your,
understand the attorney was planning on working on them.
yep, he has to draft the language, and the staff we have to review. And so I don't know if it'll be your next workshop, but for sure I would expect something by your February 4th workshop to review, and then potentially approval if you're ready to approve the language potentially on February 9th.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? Clerk's report?
Just one comment. I was very intrigued by the video monitoring, and I noticed the camera as I was coming in. So interesting. I don't know if everybody read it, but there's a state requirement that those be in place. So thank you for being compliant with the state rules.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
interesting to see if we have any, well, I'm not going to suggest we're going to have any vandalism, but we'll anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
Questions on the planning and zoning report? DPW report? Police? Engineer? All right, takes us to boards and commissions and committees. Dan Fox, Fire District Board.
Thank you. I saw on Ryan's report that you guys were at Chief Haverding's funeral in Holland, as was I. I didn't see you there, but given how many people were there, it's like trying to pick a face out of a, Chicago Bears crowd. That it was extremely well attended and very touching, I thought. I think you know that Hamilton Fire is one of the mutual aid departments that Saugatuck relies on. And quite honestly, more than others, because it's well-resourced in terms of equipment. Greg Janik was virtually a lifelong friend of Dave Haverding, so this hit him really hard. It's just a terrible loss. I mean, as Greg said, he's a tough guy, but he's a fair guy. He was a good guy. He would virtually always come to the Saugatuck fires when the call went out. Most recently, I think, was the rendering plant one. I think it was earlier this year or early 2025. And they were there when we had trouble getting some of our guys out there. So just a really good guy. And the funeral and the, I guess you call it cortege or whatever afterward, was breathtaking. I mean, and it was a weird day because it was some places very foggy. And the cortege left the church on 40th Street, came over to Grescap Road and down, all the way down Grescap, farther south than Blue Star. But I went that route before them and then waited farther on. But there were people standing along the way, lots of them.
Mhm.
And I mean, at Grass Cap Hardware, I think there were 5 or 6 white pickup trucks with yellow lights, and I couldn't see what it said on the side. I don't know if it was a gas company. They're all lined up, one next to other, and people there with their kids and flags and what have you. And when they went by Grass Cap Fire, they had their ladder truck with the ladder extended over the highway with a flag down from
Mhm.
there. I mean, it was touching, very touching. Good guy, good family, and a real loss. So figured I'd start with that. It is, this will be a relatively short meeting. I haven't seen yet the December data, the incident data, so there's no numbers really to go over tonight. I'll just quickly review the 2 noteworthy incidents, both of which I'm pretty sure you're all aware of. The first was Scott's friends across the river, Douglas DPW on Christmas Day. I was headed north on Blue Star when the guys were coming south after Mass on Christmas Day. That was called in by a kid, as I understand it, called his mother and said, I think something's going, whatever she called 911, and that's how the fire district got there, fire department got there. The first picture in the upper left is a dash cam video of what it looked like as they pulled up. So it was cooking pretty good. The picture on the right is Mike Betts in the process of attacking. The picture on the lower left, I put up there because, both because they're the guys, but also because you can see on the wall of the building up against which that truck was parked. And the reason the truck was parked there, as I understand it, is they had a block heater plugged in on that truck, and somehow that went haywire, and that's how the fire started. On the other side of that wall were all sorts of, typical power equipment, saws and battery packs and all this stuff, which had it gotten in there, and it was very close to getting in there, would have been a real nightmare and costly as well. So, and there you see, Scott can tell you, you can probably tell exactly how much that truck's worth, right? Or what it was worth before, 2 hours before this. Yeah, it was a serious loss, but a good save. Again, you can see in that picture, the charred wall of right in front of the truck. But that truck is obviously a total loss. The other incident was the one that put Saugatuck on the news quite a bit. This is going to be a cell phone size picture because it's all we can do. But this was after the majority of the fire on that truck that went off 196. The fire had been struck. As you know, that incident occurred in dark. I mean, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning when the guy went off. As you know, fortunately, miraculously, literally, miraculously, that he walked away. If you've been under that bridge since, it looks like, a Hellfire missile strike in Iraq. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it came down between, and there are concrete barriers, road barriers on the side of the road. And it took the top, it's gone. It's just completely gone. So that was the kind of force.
Amazing that the driver got out with,
Again, it was a good Samaritan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we
two
saw
Samaritans
that, yeah.
Who did it. So the next one, and that's what I mean, the top 2 pictures there were, again, they looked like wartime footage, but that was at dark beforehand. The lower left picture is what's left of that truck. So we've lost a couple of trucks here in the last couple of weeks. And the bridge in the lower right is being inspected by MDOT. That's an MDOT truck, not one of ours. That, I think, is it. And so with that, and Godspeed to Chief Haverdink. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dan.
At least that's faster than the assessor. Come on.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Up next is Interurban, Gregory.
I still have just November numbers. I'll have December numbers at our next meeting. But November, we carried 4,390 passengers. That was 321 more than in November of 2024. We also had the free rides between 6 and 1 p.m. for New Year's, getting people home safely. Wanted to mention that. And construction started today. I had a flower delivery for one of our employees for her birthday, and the construction crew was there. We've moved into our temporary trailer for dispatch and for Becky's office. And they were clearing out what we call the break room and our conference room and getting ready to demolish that back wall. I volunteered while I was there, asked if I had a sledgehammer available. Excited about the expansion of our building. Our next meeting will be on January 20th, and that'll be at the new Douglas City Hall. We had our auditors are still working on our 25 audit, and I'll provide a copy for that, as I always do every year, to the city. And then finally, I'm excited to say we have launched and we've started using the new app. So I implore all of you to go and check out our new app. It's the Interurban app here. And it's so easy to use. It's just asking you, where do you want to go? You can make your own profile by adding your address, your financial information, so you can pay as you go. You can designate a ride and ask for a ride, and you can see how far the ride is away from you.
Huh?
Oh, wow.
So it really is neat. We started using it today. January 12th was the official date to launch it. But I understand that from what I heard from Becky today, that riders are already using it. We think it's going to be a great tool to have around town. We're going to be doing some advertising with our businesses, our Airbnbs, with a QR code so folks can download that, and you'll see that roll out here shortly. And we'll be reaching out to our bed and breakfasts and all of our rentals, and as well as our local businesses. You'll see me coming with a stack of cards to advertise that. So we're excited about that. The Centers of Aging, we provided 14 rides in the last 2 weeks of November for folks going to their doctor's appointments, which are outside of our area. So people are taking advantage of that through a grant or through money that we've generated in a program that we're working with Allegan Township Transportation, Allegan County Transportation. We are providing rides for people to doctors as far as Granville, Grand Rapids, and Holland as well. So we're excited to have that as well. And we're excited about it. We also received a $111,000 grant, almost $112,000 grant for a capital bus replacement. And Becky will be ordering a large van soon, bringing our fleet up to 9. So we are continuing growing. I left early during our workshop to attend the meeting that I was asked. Becky was there, and a lot of folks that supported the Laketown Township venture. So far, they've been paying per ride, and that was our contract. And people used it a lot more than they thought they were going to use it. So we didn't understand. I guess they had a meeting back in December, and there were only three council folks present, where they voted down to continue the service until possibly a millage in August. So I guess a lot of us weren't expecting them to vote it down because we saw how many people were using it. So it was a surprise to a lot of us. So folks that were supporting it in Laketown Township and with Interurban decided to go to another meeting where they thought especially, actually it was their workshop, but that was the only thing on their agenda was Interurban, so that we could all voice our opinions, even though they'd already had a vote. And so they brought it back to the table for tonight's meeting. I'll find out where the council stood on that. So there were a lot of questions about, financial responsibility. And Interurban's role in financial, lots of opinions. And I think a lot of folks that aren't very familiar with how public transportation works, had a lot of important questions to ask. But most people that were at the meeting on Wednesday were very supportive to continue it. There were some folks, though, that did voice their opinions about cost and about the advantage of it for the city of Saugatuck that, would be getting the business from folks from Laketown Township, thinking that maybe, and we heard from a few people, that maybe Saugatuck should pay for that service, or maybe, the township should pay for that service. So, like I said, I think there was a lot of misunderstanding about how transportation works and how budgets work as well. So I will find out later, today probably, or tomorrow, to see the outcome of the meeting, because I think they were going to bring it back up for a vote to continue it. However, we did get a private donation to continue the service throughout the month of January. So it did not stop on January 12th, I believe today was going to be the date, 11th or 12th. But somebody, an anonymous person, came forward and made a donation to continue rides throughout the month of January. It's quite clear through our ridership numbers that it's something that's needed in Laketown Township. So we'll see where that goes.
Great, thanks.
Great, thank you, thank you.
All right, Joe?
No report tonight. Our next meeting is next Monday. So
Okay.
report after that. Thank you.
Chris?
Yes, no meeting, and hopefully we can maybe have some discussion about this at our priorities on Thursday.
Wednesday. Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I think, did we just have a zoning board of appeals meeting?
They did just have a meeting. They didn't have, I don't think they have any cases, but they did, took a look at their annual reports, cases last year, and then, kind of had organizational setting up chair and everything.
Okay.
So.
Scott, Historic District?
Yes, we met on Friday, a number of things. We unanimously approved the design for some new historic district signs, which will be coming to the council in the near future for your review. We had 246 Butler, which we approved. Pumpernickels, we approved a kitchen addition. It's not really something you can see, but they approved it. Most notably 250 Mason, the church, we approved, the former church, we approved some exterior modifications to that building. And 640 Water Street, we tabled. That's the demolition of the Big Lake Outfitters building, the old laundry. And we had some additional questions for the applicant on that.
Water Street. I think you said Lake Street.
I'm sorry, 640 Water. Yeah, the PUD. Yeah. That passed planning. So yeah, that one was tabled for more discussion. So pretty busy meeting.
Great,
Yep.
thanks.
Just a comment, if you didn't read the packet, I was very impressed by the owners of the Old Methodist Church. I think they did a really respectful job of the history of the building and its value to the community. So I just want to commend them for that. And I would have said the same thing at the commission too. They did a really, I think, a nice job representing what they want to do, and just, it looks like it's going to be a good project and a good addition to our community. So just want to thank them for that.
He's a builder. I got to meet them myself, but he's a builder. He's got a lot of great experience and a good portfolio. So.
I saw him working on it on my way down to the meeting this evening. And yes, the entire Historic District Commission was very impressed with that couple's presentation. It was extremely detailed and very well thought out. So I think it's going to be a great addition when
Awesome.
it's completed.
Awesome. Russ, planning?
We meet this Thursday at 6:30 PM. Be there.
Okay. Lauren?
So Parks and Public Works Committee, we talked a lot about, upcoming projects that we are hoping City Council will throw our way. We know after the strategic planning, we'll have some ideas on things that PPW could help work on. I think with the grant that we received and the donation we received for Village Square Park, I think there's some ideas that PPW could really help out. and come up with some really great ideas going forward. So we've done a lot of work over the past year when it came to invasive species. That continues to be updated on our website, thanks to our clerks for doing that. And yeah, we just look forward to anything that the city council sees as ideas that the PPW could help work on in the
Great.
future.
Great, and the state is looking at designated some invasive species like Japanese barberry and really encouraging people to not plant, which would be awesome as someone who has had to get it out of my
Right.
anything on the tri-community non-motorized trails study?
Nothing major to report. We did have a meeting last week, but I don't know. It was basically just meeting some of the new folks from C2AE's been purchased. So we met just sort of the people that are going to keep working on the project and this kind of project status, but really nothing of note.
Okay.
Am I missing anything? I don't think so.
Just that the RFP for the archaeological work should be complete and
Yeah.
we have to send it back to the state, get their sign off and the tribal nation sign off, and then we'll get that out to keep that moving, and you should see maybe some billing for some of their time on that, and then the time spent with the tribal nations on the walkthrough. The C2A had to, set things up for that particular walkthrough with kind of marking certain areas and that sort of thing. And then they had an engineer that was on site with us, which we're fortunate to have. So, but no huge steps forward, but kind of incrementally, just piece by piece.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
The RFP, what is it for?
The archaeological work that the tribal nations have asked for following their walkthrough.
Okay.
Water Systems Operations Contract Advisory Committee.
We have a meeting tentatively scheduled for February 12th.
All right. And Gregory Parking Improvements Task Force.
Yes, our next meeting is has been moved to February 24th. From what I understand, we'll soon have our meeting dates on the website. Are they on yet, or probably pretty soon?
I think, we still probably want to confirm them with the group that they work, but we can
Right.
certainly get tentative dates up, yeah.
Right, Ryan sent over a copy of the survey to me, and it looked all good to me. He's also sent it off to the rest of the committee. They'll have any say-so by Thursday, and hopefully shortly after Thursday, we'll have that out for everybody to take, and get those views. By the end of February, we're hoping to have all the information relating to current vacant commercial space or planned development, redevelopment projects, and try to find everywhere possible to park. And then we also are connecting with the fire department to get the confirmation of streets. We did get confirmation of one street they're talking about maybe not having parking on one side. But just to make sure that we're on board with everything, and looking forward to our next meeting on again February 24th. If anybody wants to come to that meeting, I do appreciate, like most people appreciate, to show up before we get down to the nitty gritty. But we appreciate everybody's input on those things. We are nowhere near making any recommendations to the city. And we're nowhere near of knowing really what all the problems are yet. So we're still working on it.
Great. Any questions? All right, takes us to approval of accounts payable. Can I get a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,082,270.
Second.
Any questions?
Not a question, just a note that 90% of those dollars are pass-throughs for taxes to the county, interurban, Ottawa area intermediate school district, Saugatuck Douglas Library, Saugatuck Township Fire Department, and the grand winner, Saugatuck Public Schools, for $542,000.
Right. To roll call vote.
Anderson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes.
Muncy,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Span.
Yes.
Motion carries. No public hearings or unfinished business, which takes us to new business at long last. Public Works pickup truck purchase. For joining us, Michelle.
Good evening. At the workshop meeting, we brought to you for discussion the purchase of a new pickup truck to replace the 2014 GMC Sierra 2500 with a new 2026 GMC Sierra 3500. That would include a bed liner, the lift gate, the step bars, and with the delivery cost through the Michigan My Deal program, the total is $55,318.
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve the purchase of one 2026 GMC Sierra 3500 HD regular cab 4x4 SRW Pro pickup for the Public Works Department under the State of Michigan MI Deal contract from Todd Wenzel Buick GMC of Westland, Michigan, an amount not to exceed $55,318, and the purchase of a snowplow in the amount not to exceed $12,000, both within the approved fiscal year 2025-2026 Public Works budget.
Second.
Any questions? I know we talked about this at the workshop. Okay, it's a roll call vote.
Anderson?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Muncy?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. That takes us to our second public comment period, and this is the time when anyone can comment about anything at all. You have 3 minutes. Anyone in the room wish to comment?
We're Nick Agnew.
You can come on up to the.
Yeah.
Donna's on the letter. She wanted, it's nice you guys are for longer. She wanted to just back up her letter. She wrote.
Hi, can
Hello.
you just give us your name?
Donna Agnew. And I wrote a letter regarding the short-term rental and this 30-day
Yes.
application process.
Mhm.
And I am the manager of the property and the owner. And I was never given notice as to, when the application was filled out and their certificate that was given. It was given to my cleaning lady, and I was left out, so I had no idea that the 30-day application was due 30 days before the expiration date. And I was just wondering, was there a discussion about that? Because when I called the city, they said I could write a letter and.
So we did get your letter, and if you want to follow up with staff after this isn't a Q&A, but you can
Okay.
follow up, actually quite soon before we go maybe into closed session, or leave a message for Grace, and what's the best way for her to follow up?
Yeah, she can touch base with Grace and I think I left your husband a voicemail last week. Yep. But we'd be happy to talk with you.
Great. So we'll do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you.
Okay, any other public comments? Right, that takes us to closed session. If someone would like to make a motion, Chris?
Madam Mayor, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268 H to discuss a confidential written legal opinion from the city attorney.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Gardner? Who was second or?
Yes.
Thank you, sorry. Anderson?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Muncy?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm going to take a short bathroom break.
Okay. All right, we are back in open session. I think the last item was our correspondence, which is in our packet. Takes us to council comments. Chris, if you'd like to start.
Yes, I'm going to just shift here to another thing. We've talked a lot about that 30-day thing with the short-term rentals. So I'm not that brilliant, but I was laying in bed thinking, how the heck can we fix this? We can't have, the confusion is ridiculous. We don't want to overtax our staff. We don't want to overtax the fire department. Property managers whining because they can't do this. Very simplistic in my mind is when somebody comes in and they have their certificate and their deadline is 30 days back. So if their final when they get the permission is date August 12th, and then they should have gone back to July 12th to do it. So let's just move them all up to the first of the next year of that month. So if I come in August to redo it, I'm gonna move you into September. September 1st will be your deadline, and September 31st will be when it's issued. Everybody then, you only have 12 months, 1 month, you only have 12 lists. If the property managers want to go in, they just pull up August, there it all is. Don't have to remember your year, don't have to remember your date, just remember your month. Now, that's really simplistic, but
No, you emailed me that idea. I think it's a great idea if it's workable with staff. So I think,
Mhm. I think that makes it easier.
oh, so easy.
Yeah.
can I give you some other problems to think about as you're going to sleep?
One and done.
Okay, Russ?
Yeah, thank you. Just want to note, I know Tony Ship is not listening to the call, so I don't think he's online, but his report about the Saugatuck Douglas Heart Safe, it was very informative. And I just want to say great work to Tony and the Heart Safe crew. It kind of dovetails with something that the city of Holland is just recently going through, where they're spending about $32,000 to purchase more user-friendly AEDs in and around city buildings and facilities. And I noticed that Tony's, one of his 26 goals is to increase the number of publicly accessible AEDs. And so particularly in the city of Saugatuck, what I'd like to know is what's our current AED inventory for city buildings and facilities? And do we have a gap, or, and maybe the city of Holland might be informative. I don't know what a user-friendly AED is as compared to a normal AED, but that might be something for us to look at, just as maybe one of our goals this year is to begin, whatever that's going to look like. I also do want to note Julie Soa's comments as well as her letter. Julie taught me how to play tennis when I was a kid on those same tennis courts. So we should listen to her very seriously about her thoughts. She's very skilled in this area, has been around the community forever, and is probably one of the most knowledgeable people about the use of that area. So just as we go forward, we come back and we start to talk more about the grant and some of the plans, that's something we should definitely keep that in mind as we're talking about that. So thank you.
I just reiterate, I mean, I've spent a good chunk of my career revolving around financial results, and I mean, these numbers here, I've got everything back to 2020 on here, looking at the 5-year trends. I mean, it's really impressive what past councils, what our staff and city manager have done. And if we can keep this trend up, I think we'll be setting an example for a lot of communities inside the state of Michigan. So again, well done, Ryan, and please pass that on to the staff. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Gregory?
Not much. Just want to thank the Isabels. They are taking a little winter break, and they donated 2,000 pounds of food to Ladders of Hope. And I think that was an extraordinary amount. I know a lot of our restaurants and businesses do close, like Maro's and others. So I would like to think that maybe that could be, I don't know, maybe they can start a trend of other restaurants doing that do close, because you do have to do something with those, something with that food that's perishable. But I think that was a great thing. Just enjoying the winter season, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add is we have our first branding and logo committee meeting. We did have 26 applicants, and the range and price is pretty significant as far as their proposals. Huge difference. I'm only halfway through them, but we meet tomorrow at 2, so I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Yeah, can't wait to learn more. I think, I just want to add the Chief Haverdink's service was just, it was so meaningful. One, learning about his, life as a helper. I mean, he was with Sheriff's Department and then with the Fire Department for many, many years. And then hearing from his kids, one of his sons spoke and all 4 of his grandchildren spoke. And so, we just learned a lot about him, and it really, when we hear that, there's a fire at, Douglas DPW, or when the truck went over the rail, and the sheriff's on scene, and it's like, we know these people, and it is amazing that they really do put their lives on the line and sacrifice their lives. And anyway, it was I really feel for his family, and especially his wife. I don't know how you move through that. And And I should think of something happy to end with. It's not death. It was a good meeting. Appreciate everyone's participation, and let's get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.